Michele Alboreto was starting 15th on the grid, so he has in effect lost 10 places at the beginning of the race. As you look at Ayrton Senna now waiting to lead the other 24 competitors for the San Marino Grand Prix around the parade lap, the assembly lap of this 3.132 mile circuit. It's a responsible job because Senna...
Welcome back to Imola, where in a couple of minutes time the parade lap will be run, and there's Eric Bernard in his Ligier waiting. John on pole position, Ayrton Senna alongside him, Michael Schumacher. A long sprint into that first corner.
Well, that sprint down into the Tossa hairpin is really going to be about horsepower.
So we've just seen the Drivers' Championship on our screen. Of course, Michael Schumacher leading that, 20 points. Rubens Barrichello second in the championship. Of course, he's not racing here after his shunt on Friday afternoon. And then we see the Constructors' World Championship. Benetton, Ferrari, and then Jordan in third. Fourth is Williams, Renault. Fifth equal is Footwork and Sauber, and then it's Tyrrell and LaRousse, the last two teams that have scored a point.
So let's see what happens.
There we see the 30-second board being taken away. Then we will be shown the green flag, and then the cars will follow the pace car. On the right we see Ayrton Senna. Yellow flag being waved, the green flag is now being waved. And that's the cameraman, the brave cameraman in the middle of the track, who is seeing cars pass by. And John, the people starting on the last row of the grid are actually quite fast by the time they go past the man with that camera.
Well, probably doing over 100 miles an hour, but again, of course, to a driver at this point, it seems like 10 miles an hour. And well, that's the case on this parade lap. The cars are still probably doing 140, 50 miles an hour coming down into the Tossa hairpin bend, and they still think that, you know, they're probably just 2,000-3,000 revs short of peak power. It's like a walking pace to them.
It's Ayrton Senna on the right of your screen. It is Michael Schumacher on the left, and it is going to be 61 laps around a very warm Imola circuit. There we see the last car on the grid, the Silver Pacific of Bertrand Gachot, the green flag. Now the 5-second board is up. The red light will go on any second now. There it is, and it's go! And a reasonable start. Oh, someone stole it. It's JJ Leto who stole this car, and someone ran into it.
Pedro Lamy, I think. Yes, it is. Pedro Lamy came from behind, absolutely flat out, and hit the back of JJ Leto's static car. And again, more problems for this San Marino Grand Prix. Ran into the back, and you can see, look at the damage to the back of that Benetton. That is, well, again, a testament to the strength of Grand Prix cars. Both drivers completely uninjured. JJ Leto and Pedro Lamy, who were involved in that start line shunt, both out of their cars, both unhurt. But a lot of debris around the track, and that's going to take a few moments to be cleared away to allow this Grand Prix to continue. And drivers, what you see them doing is trying to retain the heat that they got in the tyres during that first lap. At these very low speeds, heat dissipates quickly.
Now, watch the Ferrari of Gerhard Berger, V12 engine, tremendous amount of power. He will have all the distance up to the Tossa, through the Tamburello and Villeneuve, the right-hander.
Well, the race is underway again, and Ayrton Senna is leading Michael Schumacher. Then is Gerhard Berger, and after Berger, it's a very big gap to Damon Hill. I think Damon got caught out a little bit by that start, because there's a very big gap. Damon's in front of Heinz-Harald Frentzen and then Mika Häkkinen.
Now here onto the start of the straight, where Senna's got the advantage. He's got more horsepower. He's going to use it. He's going to try and get his way down through Tamburello. This is the long, flat out left-hand corner, 190 miles an hour, and Senna's in trouble. Senna has gone off on the outside. Something went dramatically wrong for Senna. The car suddenly turned to the right, 3/4 way through the corner. You see bits and pieces of his Williams Renault all over the racetrack. Yellow flags being waved. And something dramatic went wrong with Senna on the second flying lap of this Grand Prix, and once again drama at the San Marino Grand Prix. That was a very heavy shunt. We're saying 190 miles an hour. That was the speed at which Senna's car would have gone off the track, hit the concrete wall on the outside, and this again a very, very serious situation.
So Ayrton Senna still in his car. We are waiting for Sid Watkins to arrive, Professor Watkins to arrive on the scene of the accident, and this race will be stopped. Ayrton Senna in his car, and he is moving his head. I wouldn't be surprised if Ayrton will just wait for Professor Watkins and the prof can see whether anything's wrong with him.
Well, Professor Watkins, of course, in the safety car, the medical car, will be on his way immediately, and we are seeing movement from Ayrton Senna in the cockpit of his Williams, but that was just out of the corner of the screen. The Williams turned right. It had gone through the corner. It was clearly in control. Then all of a sudden, the car, let's watch it again. Here you see Senna coming through the corner already. The car is just going off the racetrack now. Impossible, and that impact, again, a massive impact. We've seen this happen 3 times at this San Marino Grand Prix this weekend. First with Rubens Barrichello, second tragically for Roland Ratzenberger, and now Ayrton Senna hits the wall virtually at unabated speed.
And that's the point where I think Gerhard Berger went off, John, a couple of years ago.
Berger went off, and well, we don't know the circumstances of Senna's accident at this point, but certainly when Berger went off, he hit the wall very, very hard. I think, in fact, it was maybe a little earlier in the corner, but nonetheless, this Tamburello corner, it is flat out. It's 190 miles an hour, and if you have a problem there and go off on the outside of the circuit, there are those retaining walls, but they're hard, they are concrete, and you saw how unyielding the impact was. But the car bounced off, and a lot of energy was dissipated in the first contact. But again, Professor Watkins and the medical team here in San Marino working on Senna, trying to stabilize. We saw movement from his head, so that's a very positive indication. Really, and I've never been to a Grand Prix as a competitor or in a role as a commentator where I've seen so much. I don't know, I'm just running a loss of words. Michael Schumacher out of the car. His car stopped on the start-finish line. And now again, doctors. Helmet off. Professor Watkins in attendance, and all the medical crew as they remove Ayrton from his car and take him straight to the medical center, where his attentions will be given full from the medical team.
The gap between Schumacher and Senna at start-finish was 0.7 of a second, so Schumacher was right behind the Williams driver. Then it was Gerhard Berger who was a further 3.6 seconds adrift, but Damon Hill was actually closing in on the Ferrari of Gerhard Berger. There we have a look into the Williams garage, and they are very anxious to know what happened with their car, and I think, John, also Damon Hill would really like to know what happened here. There's the Williams mechanics. Well, that must be dreadful, John.
Well, in fact, we've seen the helicopter, I think, is coming in. The medical helicopter has landed now on the circuit. Ayrton Senna is going to be transferred, I think, directly to hospital in Bologna rather than taking him to the medical center at the circuit. So obviously this incident is a serious one. And again, looking into the Williams pits, it's always a very difficult moment for a team when they've had an incident like this on and around the circuit.
There's no way of whiplash or anything like that. But some of the guys, they aren't quite as tall, and they sit a bit further forward in the car, so when the car goes in backwards,
it is possible in a very severe impact for the wheel to come into contact with the driver's head, or the wall, in fact, to come into contact. So we don't know, and it is very, very speculative indeed to consider what may or may not have been the question. So we're sitting here looking at something which is indeed very serious, and it is not right for us to speculate on the extent of the injuries to Senna, or in fact what was the cause of the accident in the first place. Well, now we see Senna is being transferred to the medical helicopter, and this is going to be, I think, a flight straight to Bologna, to the hospital. And of course, he's received a great deal of attention from the medical team here, the doctors, from Professor Watkins. And we see Professor Watkins walking with Senna as he's being transferred now to be flown immediately to Bologna.
Could there be any possibility that the drivers say enough's enough?
I think that again is an area where I don't want to get into. It is a Grand Prix, and there are many factors involved in Grand Prix racing. I think certainly after the weekend that we have seen so far this weekend, it's going to be difficult for a number of people. The desire, the heart, the spirit to drive may have waned considerably.
The accident occurred on lap 6 out of 61.
Here we see from Schumacher. Now there's the camera view. Suddenly Senna's car, there's marks on the ground, but that's where cars have been bottoming. And the car just, a little after the apex, just began to turn right. No chance whatsoever for Senna to do anything about recovery. Again, the right front and right rear of the car taking a massive impact, but again it's the front of the car that is the danger zone for the driver, because of with that wheel being compressed. Now here is the view. This is from Damon Hill as he came round in the sister car to Senna, and you can see the initial impact from the dust and then the debris, and that's the distance that Senna's car travelled before finally, again probably something like 200 meters or more across the road. Bodywork, bits of suspension, of course lots of dust and general debris, and that pretty appalling sight for Damon Hill to be faced with.
Well, it just didn't turn left anymore, John, halfway through the corner.
Just through the corner, the car had left hand locked down to go through a left hand corner, and then just after that dark patch in the road, you can see the cars have been bottoming, and in fact Senna's car, we noticed in qualifying, was bottoming through that, but there's nothing obvious that I can say indicates went wrong. It just appears that suddenly, instead of continuing the path to the left, the car began to straighten up and headed for the outside of the circuit. At this point now, something has gone wrong. You can't see the picture. It needs an enhancement to be able to give you a clearer view. Certainly Michael Schumacher would have a pretty good idea what the cause of that, to us, mysterious deviation off the track would have been.
There's the remains of Ayrton Senna's car on the back of a truck. Now that'll be covered up pretty quickly by the time that gets back to the pits, and we are awaiting a time the organisers will give us for a possible restart of this Grand Prix. So we're on the green flag lap, and and that's Heinz-Harald Frentzen, who's stalled on the green flag lap, and he will have to start at the back of the grid. So more drama for Frentzen. There he is, left on the grid. The red light will go on any second. Now it is on, and we will change the green, and a very good start for Gerhard Berger, and everybody away cleanly, everybody away to Tossa on that very first corner. And there's a lot of jostling going on there.
Well, you know, watching the start of this race, the second start, and Gerhard Berger into the lead into Tossa. Damon Hill coming down the inside of Michael Schumacher, and well, did Schumacher concede? I doubt it very much. But just watching that restart, you'd have thought as contact with one of the McLarens, I think that was Martin Brundle getting edged out.
And I think that's Damon Hill going back to the pits, John. He has got damage on his Williams Renault, and that means that Michael Schumacher did certainly not concede to Damon Hill. Here we see Damon. Is there any damage? The front wing is flapping about. We can see that. So he'll go back to the pits and pick up a new one, I suppose.
Well, Michael Schumacher, very, very tight indeed. Berger ever so late on the brakes. Schumacher did close up, but not sufficiently close to take the chance. And Gerhard Berger, I can assure you, is not going to give a millimetre to Michael Schumacher here at Imola. Now he's closed up through that chicane. He looked to be a lot quicker into it. The gap to me is marginally less than it was in previous laps. It's just a question of can he get himself close enough on the exit of Tamburello. It's marginal, but certainly he's going to have a sniff. I think this lap all the way, was Berger going to give ground? No, he's not. And he very wisely decided, well, I showed him what I can do, but I'm not going to take the risk on pushing the issue.
Lap times of these two have dropped to mid-25, and it's very... Yes, thank you very much, Italian director, but it's obvious that Berger is holding Michael Schumacher up. They're doing mid-25s, while Damon Hill is in the 24s, mid to low 24s.
And Gerhard Berger ran wide coming out of Acqua Minerale. He made an error. Michael Schumacher read it cleverly and clearly. He got his power on. He got the drive out of Acqua Minerale. And thank you very much, Gerhard. You made my life a little bit difficult, but we did put on a great show for all the Italian race fans here to see a Ferrari leading a Grand Prix. Well, I think the last time we remember seeing it here is the pass from the rearward view. Schumacher just slid through. I think the last time we saw a car leading, a Ferrari leading, was back in Portugal, 15 glorious laps, when Jean Alesi had his Ferrari in the lead.
In the pits. Michael Schumacher gone straight into the pits. Now that is on lap 12, so that could well be a three-stop race, John.
Well, in car with Martin Brundle, currently all the way down in 11th, and Martin battling with Pierluigi Martini.
While in 7th position it's Gianni Morbidelli, and in the pits goes Gerhard Berger. Gerhard Berger will go straight into the pits. Now let's say with this Ferrari pit stop on lap 14, it is Gerhard Berger in the pits. Now is he gonna stay in the lead? Oh, that is a good pit stop. It's 7.7 seconds. That is quicker than the pit stop of Michael Schumacher, and Schumacher just passed Gerhard Berger. If we wait for the picture to stay where it is, I think it's Schumacher just in front of Gerhard Berger.
Well, it was desperately tight as Berger left the pit. Michael Schumacher, under full power, was coming up just about the same point of the circuit, so we have to wait and see what the outcome. But that was a fantastic stop by the Ferrari team. They got in fuel, they changed the 4 tires. 7.7 seconds for me is the quickest I've seen of this season. And well, certainly the amount of fuel that went into the car indicates to me that Ferrari are clearly going to have 2 more pit stops before we see the finishing flag here for the San Marino Grand Prix.
Yeah, by Fittipaldi there, and looks like that's Berger.
That's Berger. He's out of the race. Gerhard Berger retires from the San Marino Grand Prix. Well, he's led it, but in circumstances that he wouldn't like. Meantime, I can tell you that the Williams pit people are preparing for Damon Hill to come in. He's way down the field in 17th place after that nose cone replacement. And Michael Schumacher is slicing his way through. Remember that Gerhard Berger, who had taken the lead from the young German, has now retired from the San Marino Grand Prix.
Brundle clearly, but look at Martini just refusing. Brundle closing the door, and in a sense really giving Martini no options. He had to in fact go left to give him a bit of space. Martini certainly fiery, and well, he's the loser of that little duel, and Martin Brundle, as I say, will be delighted to see the back of him.
Now there we see the Ferrari, and that takes a long time, John. That looks very much to me like a one-stop race.
I have to agree. I think that was the best part of 120, and David Brabham, he is out, he has gone off, and we're not quite sure which part of the circuit it is. You can see there has been contact somewhere for David Brabham, and fortunately David out of the car, walking away.
Michael Schumacher, race leader, coming into the pits for his 2nd stop of this race. While Tyrrell is going very slow, but let's see Michael Schumacher's pit stop. We do not see a clock running. And, well, that all looks pretty well with the pit stop from the Benetton team. Michael Schumacher in and out, and that was a very quick stop because he was only 12 seconds off the pace, basically. So coming into the pit, stopping for fuel, took him 12 seconds. After 30 laps, you'll see the race classification on your screen. The gap between Schumacher and Larini, 23 seconds. Then it's Hakkinen and Carl Wendlinger, third and fourth. Katayama Morbidelli in fifth and sixth position.
Mika Hakkinen into the pits. This is his second stop. So the McLaren team putting in more of the Shell fuel. 4 Goodyear tyres on. Quick stop on lap 38. End of 37th lap beginning.
There is Pierluigi Martini in the gravel.
Martin Brundle into the pits in his McLaren Peugeot. Brundle was an 19 seconds ahead of Frentzen. If he does his job properly and gets in and out quickly, and certainly McLaren have been doing a good job in these stops. And look, the rear wheels, this is, get the car, get the brakes on, get the brakes on, what are you doing? Looks to me like he's got a clutch problem, because otherwise it is not normal to have a car jacked up like that. And I suspect that that is the end. Watch out everybody, they're going to drop the car off the jack, build up the revs, and there it goes. And there is Michael Schumacher.
Gianni Morbidelli is going very slow. Was it Oguri Suzuki, Japanese Grand Prix?
1990.
Thank you very much. Morbidelli retires from this race, as he done in quite a few of the previous races. The end of the race, he retired. There is second place driver, Nicola Larini. Damon must have made a pit stop like race leader Michael Schumacher. In the pits, and well, that was a very casual pit stop, John.
I think it was more careful than casual, but you know, the team and Schumacher got a comfortable lead. It was 42 seconds. Larini, we don't think is going to make another pit stop, but Schumacher now out with his last load of fuel on fresh tyres will have no problem opening up that lead.
And there's a car stopped down here in the pit, and
it's a mechanic, Larini or somebody has come into the pit. There has been an accident, and there it is. A car has either come in or gone out of the pit, and there's been an accident in the pit lane. One of the Ferrari mechanics has been injured by a car, or was that a car?
Or a wheel.
Contact or something, we can't tell, but there has been an incident in the pit lane. One of the Ferrari mechanics who was standing in place, in fact a couple of them have been knocked down, and now pandemonium is breaking out in the pit lane. A car without a wheel, there was a wheel to be seen bouncing. We don't know whether that was the result of something in the pit lane or something on the circuit coming into the pit lane. Well, there it is, it's Andrea De Cesaris' car.
I think
the right rear wheel.
It's Michele Alboretto's Minardi, I think, John.
Yes, indeed. The right rear of the Minardi detached, and it may well have been that on the going out of the pits, that right rear wheel may have come off. It may not have been attached correctly. Certainly engineers in the Ferrari team have been injured in that incident.
Just when you thought we've had every sort of accident we could think of, John, this weekend. Well, that's very good, keeping the cameras away. With 10 laps to go, I like to see where the cars on the circuit are, to be honest, because Schumacher leads Nicola Larini, and if things don't change, Michael Schumacher is going to win his third Grand Prix of the 1994 Grand Prix season. Well, there's the battle we see for the last position, podium position, I should say, Mika Hakkinen and Carl Wendlinger.
See again. The wheel bounces down, but already the damage has been done. The car swerved into, look again, watching as the car comes out, coming into view, suddenly swings wildly to the right as the rear wheel starts to wobble, then comes off, the wheel bounces out of the pit lane, and an awful sight once again we have been seeing at Imola.
And there's Andrea de Cesaris out of the Grand Prix. There's bits of car, I don't know where it is, there's a mark on the wall. Is that Tamburello? No, it's not. I don't know where it is, but Andrea trying to get out of the car, and it's a damaged Jordan.
Yes, left side, and let's have a look and see where we are on the circuit. It's difficult. Once again, it looks to me as if it was coming out of Peralta, coming down the hill, that he may have lost it, but again, the camera position not clear.
There we see that gap, although we don't see Christian. I mean, Damon very close to them. Riding with Michael Schumacher, going down to Rivazza, and at the end of this lap, the 53rd, there's 8 laps to go for the Benetton team and another victory.
As the ambulance comes into the pit lane in attendance as the stretcher was wheeled away. Well, I think as far as everybody here is concerned, the finish of the 1994 San Marino Grand Prix cannot come a second too soon.
So Christian Fittipaldi was in 5th place again, but now it's very definitely Damon Hill in 5th position, while Michael Schumacher will win the 3rd Grand Prix of the 1994 Grand Prix season. He crosses the line now. The last lap, of course, fairly slow. In 2nd place, there he is, if he finishes the lap, and that is easily his best Formula One result ever, and a good result for Ferrari is going to be Nicola Larini in 2nd place.
And while all that was going on, Akira Katayama has regained 5th place from Damon Hill, and Damon certainly unable to defend the place he took away from Katayama some laps ago.
Nicola Larini 2nd in this Grand Prix. Now, is it going to be Mika Häkkinen or Carl Wendlinger? That'll be Mika Häkkinen finishing 3rd for McLaren. In 4th position is Carl Wendlinger. And look, John, I mean, with all the problems we've had this weekend, when you look on the main straight, there's the crowd. I mean, they're walking on the circuit already. I mean, that's madness.
Well, it's obviously because the performance that Nicola Larini has given all these thousands of Italian and Ferrari fans, and they're delighted, and he has done a truly outstanding job for Ferrari. He was certainly, in his first race 2 weeks ago, very impressive, but here really he will deserve every single plaudit he will get this afternoon, tomorrow, and undoubtedly for the remainder of this week, and has proved to be a very able stand-in indeed for the injured Jean Alesi.
Christian Fittipaldi being taken back to the pit by Heinz-Harald Frentzen.
Really, now Larini has to be very careful indeed. We've had an incident-packed weekend, not just on the racetrack, but sadly in the pit lane, where Michele Alberto's Minardi lost its right rear wheel, and the car clipped, or in fact more than clipped, hit a number of the mechanics and engineers, obviously heavily indeed, but the crowds rushing across, their joy of course solely focused on Ferrari and Larini.
So there's the rostrum with the champagne and the trophies, and where are the drivers? Nicola Larini in 2nd, Mika Häkkinen 3rd, but of course race winner Michael Schumacher, race winner and world championship leader. John, look at Monaco. I don't suppose Ayrton Senna will be racing there.
Well, there we have the 3 podium finishers and Nicola Larini. and of course Flavio Briatore representing the Benetton team.
The national anthem's being played for the Benetton team and Michael Schumacher, World Championship leader. And John, who's going to stop him now?
Well, there are 13 more Grand Prix, so there's a lot more motor racing, and I think it would be wrong to be saying that this is the end of the championship. Undoubtedly, Ayrton Senna is going to be out for a number of races, but we have to look elsewhere. I don't know who Williams might put in as a replacement, and I suppose speculation could be fairly wild, but there's a man who's truly delighted and a very well earned and justified podium position. Mika Häkkinen equaling his best finish, third in Japan last year, and a great result for McLaren, for Peugeot, who are on just at the beginning of their development program, and one I'm sure we'll see on the podium many times in the future.
Well, news coming back via the news like Reuters and AFP saying Ayrton Senna has had surgery. He's very critically injured. His heart stopped beating for a while, but they got it going again, and he is injured in hospital. And let's wish Ayrton Senna all the best from this commentary position, and not only Ayrton Senna but everybody involved with all the accidents and incidents that happened here in Imola this weekend.
Well, this is the scene as the fans now leave Imola for 1994, but still on the pit lane, thousands of people milling around, and teams very quickly closing down the doors to their garages and removing all their timing equipment and computing equipment from the pit lane, getting it away as quickly as they can.
Sorry, I'm not sure. I don't think we're going to see a press conference actually after the Grand Prix, because I haven't seen any pictures from the press room yet, and everybody is going home. And then usually they should have arrived in the press room already, and I'm not sure whether the drivers are going there. They should do, but I don't think they will.
Well, the press room is quite a distance, in fact, from the podium, and with the amount of people that are milling around, it may take them a few minutes to get there, but it is conceivable that the press conference may have been deferred.